Okay, questions 45 to 48 of Acer's Green Booklet, Section 1. So these all revolve around a passage on alchemy. We do not know who the author is, but that's okay because we don't need it. Just be aware that sometimes you are going to get passages where you have no idea where they've come from, what time frame they're written in, who the author is. That's totally okay, unless you need to know that stuff. Acer won't put it in there. Okay, question 45. The kind of alchemy discussed in this passage is dependent on. So in the question, we have two very important words, dependent on. So this question is asking, in order for this type of alchemy to exist, to flourish, to be a thing, what is it dependent on? What is needed in order for this alchemy to work, basically? So make sure that you're cluing into those keywords in questions. So the answer is A, which is a change in awareness. And the quote that comes from is transmuted from the ordinary level of perception to a subtle level of perception. So hopefully you know that perception and awareness are very similar. And so what this is saying is that we need to change, there's a change from the ordinary level of perception / awareness to a subtle level of perception / awareness. Therefore, there is a change in awareness, and that's why the answer is A. B says a change in ethics and values. So the thing is that a change in awareness resulting in alchemy can also then lead to a change in ethics and values. But that is not what alchemy is dependent on. That is sort of a byproduct of what can happen when you engage in alchemy. So that is why B is wrong, because a change in awareness could lead to a change in ethics and values, but a change in ethics and values is not what alchemy is dependent on. So again, make sure that you're cluing into those keywords in the question. C is very wrong. And D, these things, love, beauty, and exaltation, they're not what alchemy is dependent on. They are what kind of the absolute is, and they are what can result from the practice of alchemy, but they're not what alchemy is dependent on. So again, make sure that you're really answering the question that you are asked, which is what is alchemy dependent on? Not what does it do, not what results from it, what is it dependent on? Okay, question 46. So according to the writer, for alchemists, the absolute is the da-da-da-da. So again, in the question, we have the phrase for alchemists. So this is asking, for an alchemist, from the perspective of the alchemist, what is the absolute? So not for you, not for me, not for Gamsat, not for the writer, for the alchemists themselves. So again, just make sure that you're aware of what context you need to look at these answers through. Now, this is an example of a question where we can use the answers to help us. So if you look at the answers, you'll kind of see that they're double-barreled. And what I mean by that is there are two components of them. The first component is the realm. A and B say hidden, C says ephemeral, and D says temporal. Then the second part of all the answers have something else to do with other stuff, but we'll ignore them for now. So because we've got all these different options in that first part of the answer, we can use that to eliminate wrong answers. So A and B say the hidden realm, C says the ephemeral realm, and D says the temporal realm. So if we can figure out what the realm is it hidden, ephemeral, or temporal, then we can either get to our correct answer in one go, or we can eliminate the two that are wrong. So the first question we should ask is, what is the realm that the absolute is contained in? Is it hidden, is it ephemeral, or is it temporal? So if you didn't know, ephemeral means lasting for a very short amount of time. So for example, like fashion trends are ephemeral. Well, that's wrong because alchemy does not last for a short amount of time. Alchemy is encompassing lots of dimensions and time and space and all that stuff, so that's wrong. Temporal, it's kind of two definitions. One of them is relating to time, but just relating to time in general, and then the other one is relating to the other one is basically secular. So hopefully you can tell that that's wrong as well, because the realm isn't temporal, which leaves that the answer is hidden. It's a hidden realm, so that's why we can eliminate C and we can eliminate D. So now we look at A and B, and again, look at the answers and see what is different between the two of them. Well, they both talk about phenomena. A says the phenomena are concrete and finite. B says the phenomena are the archetypal forms, basically. So we need to ask, are phenomena concrete and finite, or are they the archetypal forms? If you don't know what the word archetypal means, it means to be very typical of a certain kind of person or thing. So sort of like the representative or the conventional idea of something. But if you didn't know that definition and you're in the exam, that's okay, because at this point you can be going back to the passage and looking for the specific words. Look for like specifically archetypal form, or look for concrete and finite phenomena. Look for those words and you will see that the answer option is B, because it literally says perceived in its archetypal form. So if you didn't know what archetypal meant, that's okay. Look for those words in the passage, and if they're there and if you can't find the A, then it's probably B. But in this case, that is why B is correct, and I knew that through the definition of archetypal. But again, if you didn't know that, go into the passage and look for those keywords. I have found that often in Gamsat, in the practice papers, I don't actually know in the real exam, so take this with a grain of salt. The answer options usually contain the keyword pulled from the passage. So in this case, archetypal form was the correct answer, and that is literally there in the passage. So if you can find an exact match of the words, then that's probably the answer option. It's still best to know that answer from a definition, but just if you're really struggling, maybe start looking for exact matches on keywords. That's what I've found, but obviously I'm not Acer, so please take this with a massive grain of salt. Question 47, and again we have double-barreled answer options. So what we do is we split them up. Take all the first words and put them in one line, like here. Take all the second words, put them in another line, and then just start ticking them off one by one, and that will give you your answer. So the kind of alchemy discussed in this passage is best described as hedonistic. So hedonistic means the pursuit of pleasure. It's often associated with one of the 7 deadly sins, or if you've seen those old paintings from the Renaissance time, it's got a very bad connotation around it. It's kind of like the bad pursuit of pleasure, not like pursuing happiness, but yeah, it's I don't know how else to explain it. It's got negative connotations around that word. So it's not hedonistic. It's kind of disciplined. It's kind of pragmatic, but it's very mystical. What else do we have? Idealistic pursuit. It's kind of idealistic. Arduous exercise. Now this is why I've said arduous exercise and discipline are kind of there, because you can imagine that in order to pursue this type of alchemy, you do have to, put lots into it and be disciplined about your studies, etc., etc. But they're not quite right, because they don't actually answer the question. The question is the kind of alchemy discussed, not what is the type of person that has to perform this type of alchemy. And if that was the answer, then disciplined would make more sense. But that kind of question marky. Utilitarian enterprise, that's very wrong, so we knock that off. And then transcendent awareness. So hopefully mystical and transcendent awareness, which is D, should pop out as the correct answers. But this is why I like to sort of put question marks over some, because you're it could be right if there's no other option. But in this case, there was another option. So that's why the answer is D. According to the writer, the hidden reality is... Okay, so now we're talking about the writer, not the alchemist. So again, make sure you know what context you need to look at the question from. So according to the writer, the hidden reality is... And we have this quote, the underlying essence of all truths and religion, it can be perceived and realized. So perceived and realized means that it's there, it's knowable. If you can realize it, if you can perceive it, you can know it. Which means that the answer is very clearly C. So illusionatory, no. Improbable, no. Transitory and impenetrable, no. Because the writer says, it's there, we can see it, we can realize it if you go through the correct paths. Yeah, okay, I think, yep, that was the last question. So in the next video, we will do questions 49 to 52. please, leave a like, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff. I want to know that this is actually helping people. And comment down below with any questions if you have any, or any other types of videos for section 1 and section 2 that you would like to see. I won't be covering section 3, there's enough out there already, but happy to do like a lot of work for section 1 and 2. So let me know what you want to see and if this is helpful or if you need clarification. I will see you in the next video.